There has been a lot of discourse within the Star Wars fandom ever since Disney started making their own content. There's a long list of topics that Star Wars fans argue about both with and against each other, and it sucks, but that's just the way of the world, I guess, especially with the internet today. And the number one topic of discourse in the fandom is Kathleen Kennedy. Many people are not happy with her running Lucasfilm. Most of this frustration, in my opinion, is warranted, as people have been upset with her and the way the content has been, the lack of quality and a lot of controversy surrounding the decision making for some of these shows and obviously the sequel trilogy. And I'll admit, I am one of those people. She's been included in some of my previous Star Wars videos in the past where I have expressed my frustration with her and the franchise. But in today's video, it's not going to be about Kathleen Kennedy. I strive to be balanced on this channel. I don't want to be overly positive, but I also don't want to be so negative to where I'm a toxic asshole. So I would rather make a video today talking about Dave Filoni and explain why I think he needs to be in charge of Star Wars, the potential solution to fixing Star Wars' problems going into the future. Personally, I think Dave Filoni needs to be the Kevin Feige of Star Wars. I'm not saying he needs to write and direct and produce everything, but he needs to have the ability to provide oversight and have authority to, make changes and tell people what to do. There needs to be somebody with a focused vision, and I think Dave Filoni is that guy. There's many reasons to back this up too. So today, I want to talk about Dave Filoni and give some explanation as to why I think he should lead Star Wars content going forward. I've been enjoying Ahsoka the past couple of weeks, and Dave Filoni's Episode 5 was yet another fantastic piece of Star Wars content. Dave not only wrote the script for the episode, but he also directed it. In my opinion, every piece of Star Wars content that has come from Dave's brain has been fantastic. He just gets Star Wars. And you want to know why that is? It's because he literally was the apprentice of George Lucas. He was his right-hand man back in 2005 when George hired him in order to help create Lucasfilm's animation studio. Dave also helped George create the company's first show, The Clone Wars. Dave was also the director of the Clone Wars movie back in 2008. And then he became the supervising director for the Clone Wars show, which, as we know, spanned over 100 episodes and 7 total seasons. And we all remember how emotional Season 7 of Clone Wars was, right? And guess what? That was Dave's product. Seriously, go look up interviews where Dave explains how he got hired by Lucasfilm. It's actually a pretty cool story. And Dave's Star Wars resume doesn't start and stop with just Clone Wars. Dave went on to create the Star Wars Rebels show that ran from 2014 to 2018. He was the supervising director and executive producer for the show. Dave also has awards to back up his animated work. Clone Wars won 4 Emmys, and Dave's third animated show, Star Wars Resistance, earned 2 Emmy nominations in the category for Outstanding Children's Program. And then you have Dave's current show, The Bad Batch, which has been pretty solid, and I can't wait to watch the third and final season. And Dave's work in live action has been impressive as well. Dave worked closely with Jon Favreau to create the first ever live action Star Wars show, The Mandalorian. And have you noticed how some of the best episodes of Mando and even the Book of Boba were the ones that Dave was involved in? One of the best episodes in Mando came in Season 2 when we were introduced to the live action Ahsoka and she got to meet Grogu and all that stuff happened. It was really cool. It was cool to see Dave bring Cad Bane to live action and face off against Boba in his show. And even the Mando 2.5 episodes that were included in the Book of Boba were the best in the series, but it's just more proof that Dave knows what he's doing and he's the best mind that they have working there right now when it comes to Star Wars content. What I love most about Dave and why I think he is so worthy of being the head of Star Wars content is that he knows how to respect the old lore and characters while creating new stuff. Episode 5 of Ahsoka is the most recent example of this. First off, while Ahsoka is about pre-existing characters in the franchise, it is also creating new lore and stories at the same time. Dave's vision for the Ahsoka Anakin episode was executed perfectly. Dave just knows how to make things feel like Star Wars because he knows the elements that hit the right tones for a Star Wars story. A lot of people complain about there being too much nostalgia in Star Wars, especially with Dave's content, and I 100% disagree with them. A franchise like this should never forget where it comes from, and usually when Dave brings back old characters and lore, it's for the right reasons. The things that happen matter. Anakin helping Ahsoka was significant to both of their stories. Anakin can now master both the light and the dark now that he's been redeemed, and he's also redeeming himself more by helping his old Padawan out, who he owes a lot to. And then you have Ahsoka, who's patching up her relationship with Anakin and also finding a new resolve to keep living and to keep going even after all the stuff that she has been through in her life. I really wish Dave would have been directly involved with the Kenobi show. That show was very disappointing and it just pisses me off to this day. Like, how could they botch a show involving some legendary characters being played by their legendary actors again? And I'm sorry, but a lot of the content being made by other writers, directors, and producers, again, it just seems to be lackluster and controversial at times. And this is why I think it makes total sense for the guy who was literally second in command under George Lucas to be the guy that has the final say on what should be done. It's time Star Wars goes the Marvel route and let Dave play the role of Kevin Feige. Kevin Feige's name is on every piece of Marvel content. And say what you will about the Marvel content we have gotten over the past few years, but prior to 2020, most of Marvel's content was hitting. Now here's the thing, Kevin is also the president of Marvel, so Kathleen Kennedy would have to be replaced if Dave was technically to play the full-on role of what Kevin Feige does at Marvel. And I'll be honest with you, I'd have no problem with Kathleen Kennedy being removed as president of Lucasfilm. I have thought for a while that there needs to be some new creative heads within the company. I also would have no problem with Kathleen keeping her position if she would just allow Dave to have more power and let him have the say, the ultimate say, on the content going forward. Kathleen could run the business side of things and still work with Dave, while Dave is focused on making the content, making the decisions, coming up with the plan going forward. Let Dave cook in the content kitchen and let Kathleen sit in the office and handle the business. This formula can work, but seriously, it's time for the one person who knows Star Wars best to take over. Ahsoka, in my opinion, has been the best piece of Star Wars content since Mando Season 2. You know, Andor, for example, it's a good show, but in my opinion, it's kind of boring when you consider the Star Wars elements or the lack of them. 5 episodes to prepare for a heist, 3 episodes for a prison break. You know, I'll be honest, yeah, the show had great production, great writing, good acting. I did enjoy the show, and I'm excited for Season 2. However, I have a hard time believing that this is the best Star Wars content we could receive like some people think. And I'd like to be excited for The Acolyte, a show that's going to focus on the dark side, but it's hard to do so when the director has gone on record basically saying George Lucas is misogynistic for calling the shots for his own creation, and then one of the actors was talking about in an interview that, oh, there's no good or evil in Star Wars, it depends on what side you're on. And I do get what you're saying, you know, that point of view, that perspective, it's different between people. But come on, there's certain characters and elements in Star Wars that are pretty clear that these people are good, these people are bad, these people are ignorant, these people are greedy. Like, you can't tell me, oh, well, you know, Palpatine was actually doing something good. He built a Death Star to blow up planets and kill millions of people. That's evil. Anyways, I just want Star Wars to succeed. I want content that is similar to Clone Wars, Rebels, Ahsoka, even Tales of the Jedi. Another great piece of content from Dave Filoni. I really don't trust anyone besides him. There's some other great people that have helped write, direct, and produce these shows, and I think that they could still work well under Dave. I am just tired of listening to Kathleen Kennedy's crappy analysis of past and future Star Wars, and I also don't want to hear the bullshit that Bob Iger has to say about the corporate side of things. I just want Star Wars content to be good, and I want it to be created by somebody with the knowledge and the passion that a person like Dave Filoni has. Well, who do you want to see take the helm at Lucasfilm? Do you agree with me that it should be Dave, or do you have other thoughts in mind? Let me know down in the comments, and thanks for watching the video. I do appreciate it. Check out more videos on the channel, and maybe consider subscribing. You can also find my content on podcasting platforms if you prefer audio. Literally just Google Analyze This Podcast, and you'll find me on multiple platforms. You can also find me on X and TikTok. X at analyzethis_YT, and TikTok at analyzethis54_YT. Thanks again for watching, and take care.